Hello. How are you? This is Els coming from Bemis Crafty Corner, and this is week 2 of our upcycling a book cover into a new journal. So, I'm going to go ahead and show you week 2, and before I do that, let's go over some of the things we're going to need for this one. A pencil, your pattern that you made, a ruler could be helpful, your spine, pair of scissors, some Tyvek if you have it. You're going to want some book glue or some kind of glue that you can use to bind this all together. Rubber cement works fine. Preferably, if you're using fabric, you're going to want to use, book cloth. Whatever you're going to be covering your book with, and whatever you're going to be using for your inside pieces, and a paper trimmer. Okay, I'm going to be using book cloth on my spine today, book tape on my spine. I'm going to be using paper on my inside, and I'm going to be using sheet vinyl on my cover. Okay, so I'm going to move some stuff out of the way, and then I'll be right back, and I will walk you through how we do this. Okay, I'll be right back. So if you get out your measurements for your book, you want your cover piece for your outside cover to be 3/4 of an inch to an inch larger all the way around. Now this is vinyl, and I like to use this because it has the little grid part, grid marks on it, so I can pretty much just kind of look at this and know where I'm going to cut. So figure out where you're going to cut, then put it in your trimmer and trim it down. So as you can see, I've got about an inch all the way around my book, give or take. And so the next part is going to be gluing this. So I'm going to turn my book right side up. And I'm going to put something on my work surface to protect it. Just cleaned out down here, so now I can't find anything. Here we go. This will work. That's kind of distracting. Let me turn that over. There we go. That's better. Okay, so I'm going to get my book binding glue, and I'm going to use a brush. Now you don't need to use a brush. You can use your finger or the old credit card method, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to take my glue, and I'm going to put a thin coat of glue on here. And I'm going to make sure I get in the grooves and on the spine. Do some more on this side. A little bit more. Okay, so once I have my glue, I'm going to put my vinyl on. Now, this vinyl is a removable vinyl, so that's why I'm using the glue with it. And I have to get this back paper off. Come on. Go. And then I'm going to put this on my book Oh, it's so sticky. Ugh. See, not everything always works. All right, we got it on there. All right, now turn this over and get this on here. All right. So once I have that on, and I know I can close my book without it tearing, my next part is going to be to nip my corners. So, take a pair of scissors, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut like I'm wedging into the corner on every side, every corner. So you should have these little flaps that look like this, okay? So now the next part is going to be to put some glue around the edge here, just a little. You don't have to put a lot, because you're going to fold this up, and we're going to be covering it for the most part, so that's why we don't need a whole lot of glue here, but you know, you want a little bit to help with the stick. All right, so I always do the top and bottom first. So I'm just going to pull the top over. Okay, now here's a little trick. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a nip. I'm not going all the way to the top with it, just enough to loosen that a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. I'm going to bring it up. Give it a little nip here, just to loosen it up. And then I'm going to bring in my two sides. Glue on this side is kind of dried out, so bring that up. Smooth it out. All right, so now I'm going to set this aside and let it dry, okay? When I come back, we're going to move on to the next part, which is reinforcing your spine and getting started coating and covering things, okay? So get your paper trimmer out and we'll be right back. Okay, so now we need to do some things on the inside here. One, we need to measure, make sure that we have the right measurements for our end papers. So I'm just going to get my ruler. I'm going to decide where I want that to be. And for me, that looks like 7 1/4 by 4 3/4. Okay. So that's the size I'm going to cut my end papers. I'm using this for my end papers. So I'm going to get rid of this part first. then I'm going to cut this down to 7 3/4. Seven and 3/4, 7 1/4. I almost cut it too big. 7 1/4. Four and 3/4. Set that to the side. I'm going to bring this book back in, and I'm going to measure where my spine's going to be. My spine is 7 1/4, just checking. So I have this piece, which is 7 1/4, and my spine. So I'm going to cut this down to like an inch, just to cover my spine. And you know what? It needs to be bigger. So let me do this. Let me do an inch. We'll see how that's going to work. Perfect. And then I'm going to cut it about an inch longer. So I'm going to cut it to 8 1/4 inches. 8 1/2, you know, because I want it to be longer. All right. So let's bring our book over. All right. So the first thing is these. We need to make sure that they fit. And that fits beautifully. That fits beautifully. If you want to ink, now would be a good time to do so. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. It's a thing of beauty, I'm telling you. All right. Now we're going to deal with this part. So let's just set this aside for the moment. And let's get our spine. Which I'm going to make sure that I've got cut to the right length. And I don't. So, just going to nip this off. Check my fit. Beautiful. And then I'm going to bring in this little piece of paper. And we're going to basically do the same thing with this little piece of paper that we did with the book cover. Okay. So I'm just going to put some glue on this spine. It's so little. And then I'm going to put this on my paper in the middle. And then I'm going to do the whole wedge thing again. Wedge, 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 wedge. Okay. Then I'm going to use my board to help me fold this paper. And then I'm going to glue this down. So I'm basically wrapping my spine in paper. Other side. And then my little tabs at the end. Okie dokie. All right. I'm going to clip this and clip this. I'm going to put a couple of clips in the middle, and I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll be back, and we're going to start putting this in. Now, if you want to add lace to your inside, to your spine area, you need to get that now, okay? And then we're going to walk through the rest of this. Be right back. Alrighty. So you need to get out your Tyvek or whatever you're using as your stabilizer. And you want this basically to fit between the top and the bottom. And you want it to be about 1 inch wider on each side. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some glue, and I'm going to put some glue in here. And I'm going to put some glue about 1 inch out on either side. And I'm going to put my Tyvek in. Press this in. You can use your bone folder, your finger, whatever you want. But you want to press that down, press this down. You really want to get this pressed in here. So spend a few minutes doing this. Okay? There we go. Now, the next step is if you're going to put something on your spine, you need to do that now. Now, originally I was going to use some book tape, but if I put book tape on this, it's going to be like, I'm going to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my book tape, and I'm going to pull off about 1 inch more on that side and 1 inch more on this side. I'm going to cut that. Ooh. Okay. And then I'm going to put this sticky side up right there. I'm going to close my book so that I have my spine. And I'm going to put this in the center of my tape. Okay. Then I'm going to fold this out. Take a little bit more off the bottom here. Now, if you don't have book tape, use duct tape if you want to. It's totally okay. Alright, then we're going to fold this over. We're going to pull it nice and tight. And again, cut a little release right here. Same thing over here.
Thank you for contacting Communications Business Technical Support. My name is Mike. How may I assist you?
Pull it over. Turn it over.
Hello.
Here we go.
Hey Kevin, how's it going?
So now I have a nice spine on my book.
Okay, complain too badly. What you got for me, buddy?
And at this point, we can do the last couple of steps here. The first one is if you're going to put lace in.
Fantastic. Give me a moment to pull that up. Let me see what we got to work with. Thank you.
I'm gonna measure that now. I'm going to cut one piece for each side. Okay. Now I'm going to put this down with a little bit of Fabri-Tac or some 3-in-1, whichever you have or prefer. By just running a bead of this down here.
All right, so last notation we got in here is from the field technician. He says he's got an access window of 1:30 p.m. local time today, so that's probably about another 26 minutes. Saying checking to take it to pending customer.
Then we're going to take our spine, and on the side that has the paper folded on it,
Lid is offline. It means the device is not reachable.
that's where you're going to put your glue.
So yeah, he's waiting to get in. Today.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Got my glue on there.
I'll set this ticket actually for us to check it back.
And then I'm going to put this right over that lace and use this to push the lace in
Check it again and see where we're
to
at.
the spine.
All right, Kevin, is there anything else I might be able to assist you with then today, sir?
And then I'm going to put some clamps on here,
I thank you for the business technical support and have yourself a fantastic week.
and we're going to let this dry.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay? All right, so we're going to let this dry, and it should take about 15-20 minutes, and then I will be back, and we will do the last part of the book cover. Okay? I'll be right back. All right, all glued up. Last part of this is putting in your end papers. And you can use whatever adhesive you want for this. I'm just going to use some of my glitter glue. All right. Pull my lace out of the way. I'm going to come in, make sure I'm even top and bottom. And then I'm just going to glue my end paper down. Then I'll do the other side. Now, of course, if you want to ink, you would do that before you put this down, but I don't really see a reason to ink end papers. Okay. A little more glue. Getting that lace up out of my way. Now, I want to make sure that when I put this down, I'm even across the bottom and across the top. Okay. All right. There you have it. So now, what I do to let this dry is I close it, stand it up, and I put a couple of clips on it, and I'm going to let the whole thing dry. Okay? That's it for this one. Next week, we will build our signature and do our marks and get our signatures put in. We're stitching our signatures next week. And I will be live tonight if anybody has any questions or any issues that they need to talk to me about with regards to the book. Okay? That's it. That's this week's class. So remember, next week you want your signature papers. You want your pattern piece ready to go. Pattern, papers to build signatures, and you're probably going to want whatever pad you're planning on using for pockets and things, or start getting those ephemera pieces together, okay? That's it. That's all I have for you this week. Listen, if you're new here, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. Like me, ring my bell, share me with all your friends. And your friends can be my friends can be your friends, and our friends can get to be friends. I have videos that post on Mondays and Wednesdays. I go live on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 10 a.m. That's 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11, 12, 1 across the country, 8 o'clock over in Hawaii. I am running two things. One, these free classes, and if you'd like to get these free classes, make sure when you ring that bell that you click on the all so that you get the notifications that the classes are posting. And I'm running my 12 of 22 journal challenge. That is 12 different themes of journals throughout the year. There's a link in the description box below that you can follow to a video that's going to explain it all. Till I see you again, stay safe. Bye-bye.